Ellen McCauley at Pray It Off in Syracuse, New York. It is spring. Instead of a blinding snowstorm today, we had a ton of rain, and you know what? I'll take rain any day of the week. I love spring. When I hear the geese coming back, I stand still, I look at the sky, and I say, welcome back, I've missed you. When the geese leave, I cry. I love it when they come back. And we're going to talk about clutter, disorganization. And so many people think of drawers and closets, but how many of us have clutters in our very soul? I know I do. And this first article is called Marie Kondo, Your Soul. And for those of you who don't know, Marie Kondo is an international bestseller celebrity from Japan who came up with this downsizing method, and I'll just talk about it a little bit more. But we're going to talk about our soul. She suggests you pile all your stuff in the middle of the room and pick it up piece by piece and see what gives you joy. And then if you're lighter and happier, then you've done the right thing. But what is in our soul? And I really stopped to think about that. I have a lot of regret, a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, a lot of denial, a lot of loss, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering. Not only the suffering that I have experienced myself, but more importantly, the suffering I've witnessing, and I'm not going to go there because you know how easy it is for me to go down. But witnessing someone you love suffering, witnessing the world and Ukraine and on and on and on, and remembering only the worst of the past instead of remembering the best of the past, and having a future so often that's shaped by fear and anxiety. What do they say? You work hard, you work hard, you retire, you die. I like to think of life as a little bit more than that. I want to find the joy that so often has been missing in my life. And it says, with God's help, it's time to hold lightly these bits of spiritual baggage. Thank them for their service and let them go. Let the past regret, let the past shame, let all the mistakes you made, every diet you failed on, we have to let it go, let it go. And you know why? Because Jesus has forgiven it all. If Jesus were sitting right where Richard is right now, you know what? The first thing he'd say to me is, I love you, Ellen. I love you. And Bob would come over and say, Bob, I love you. He won't say, back in 1972 when you were at the Poorhouse West, it wasn't pretty, Ellen. He would not say that. He is not going to dredge up the 70s. Why do I keep doing it? Let it go. And so there we knew, we start with our soul. We examine our soul and we say, what am I hanging on to? What I know one person who I think is a wonderful person, they will not go to communion on Sunday because they won't go to confession because they think their sins are so bad they could never tell another person. So they go to Mass, they never miss Mass, but they will not receive the body of Christ. I have said repeatedly, go to a stranger, go to the cathedral. They don't know you're there. Go anywhere. And I think I'm making some headway because if we don't, this is one thing that really helped me make some headway with this person. I said, if we don't forgive ourselves, we make a mockery of what Jesus did on the cross. Because he took your sins, he took my sins, and he took them with him so that we could be forgiven. This person's sorry. That's the first step. So we need to let that baggage go. I'm a lot better than I was, and you know what's helped me? Pray it off. People go, are you still going to do that group? I go, oh, you better believe it. I could be at my goal weight, and I have to do this group. I have to do this group. And then we have our soul that's got a lot of clutter, and right along with our soul is our mind, because that's where that clutter starts, that goes into our soul. And then the mental clutter comes out with the defeatist language. And so many people think discouraging thoughts about themselves. They speak defeatist language about themselves. They say, I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. my clothes aren't great. You have the nicest clothes. My clothes are bad. You you can get up in front of a group. I can't even talk to myself in my bathroom. The comparison, the negative feelings about yourself, saying things like, I'm not a very organized person. I'll never get this mess cleaned up. I'll never get the hang of this. The things you say to yourself bring you down. And you can say, I'm not a very organized person. Instead, you might say, you know what? I am really organized with my emails. I am really organized with paying my bills on time. What I really need a little work on is my paperwork, like the filing and the receipts. I hang on to things too long. I mean too long. Like I went through a bin over the last summer, and I had all my receipts from 1982 to 1986 in that bin. Bank receipts, deposit receipts, paid my what was it before? It's Time Warner bills, Niagara Mohawk. I mean, that's how old some of these bills were. They weren't even bought out yet. So you don't need them. Let them go. You're using permanent language quite often for temporary problems. You're saying things like, I'm not organized. You can say, in the past, I haven't taken the time to really go through things. And you know what we always think? We think we need a huge bucket of time. And here's where I disagree with Marie, and we'll get there in a moment. She says you should take everything out of your closet and put it in the middle of the floor. Now, you can't do that unless you have maybe 10 items in your closet. If your closet is as stuffed as mine, you'd be, and I work, I would have to be retired to do that or spend a whole weekend doing that. We're going to talk more about that. But what you can say to yourself more positively is, and I can say it right now, I have too many clothes, but I'm excited. I haven't been organized with my clothes in the past, but I'm excited about spending some time going through these things. You say, I made a mistake. What did I learn from it? I gained 2 pounds this week. You could even say, I am a stupid idiot loser. Not literally, but figuratively. And why can't I lose weight? And I'm just going to quit this group. And I'm too busy. And I'm too stressed. And everything's so bad. Or you could say, you know what? I gained 2 pounds this week. But I was eating an awful lot of corned beef. And I was eating an awful lot of Irish soda bread. And I had a lot of Russian dressing on my corned beef. And then you say, maybe next week I won't have as much. You learn from it. And you know what we're surrounded by? We're surrounded by stuff we buy. We purchase stuff, we bring it home. We're surrounded by stuff that other people give us, or that arrive in the mail, or that freebies, inheritances, other people's junk. And then our time. We have a to-do list, and we have communication, we have emails, voicemails, all these activities that we have to do and plan. Sometimes we have too much clutter in our schedules. Do we have to go out to lunch 4 times a week, or can we cut it down to 2 maybe? To the category of allowed clutter, we've allowed mental clutter to take up so much space in our minds that it turns into worry. And several people would say stress, anxiety, worry are the #1 reasons why you gain weight. So one of the reasons about uncluttering is you feel in control. If you unclutter your soul, unclutter your mind, and we're going to talk about uncluttering our houses, we can feel more control over that situation. And one person talks here about how they made a mountain out of a molehill. Something happened, they didn't know all the details, they overreacted before having all the information. Half my life I've made mountains out of molehills. Don't we? We're like, oh, they didn't say hello to me? Don't they like me? Why aren't they speaking to me? Then you paint the scenario. Did I do this? Did I do that? Maybe they didn't see you. And then so many times they talk about this too. People say, I mentioned that there was a mass on August 6th for Kathy at 7:30 mass. I saw people take pens and write that down. But then there's other people in the room that are like, I'll remember that. And then there's other people that says, I'm not going to remember it. I'm not going to write it down. I'm going to rely on Ellen to tell me a few more times. You know what kills me is the doctor's office. You make an appointment. They give you a card. Then they call you. Then they text you. Press 1. Press 2. I already made the appointment. I already have the card. I wrote it down besides. And this is what they don't like. They'll say, hi, I'll make an appointment, and I write it in my day timer. They go, I'm going to give you a card. I'm like, I don't need a card. I'm going to give you a card anyway. I go, I really don't need a card. I wrote it down. You can save the paper. I have to give you this card. I'm like, okay, I'll take the card. How can anyone forget an appointment when we've micromanaged the doctor's office? Are like, call, text. I think that we're living in a world where people do not write things down. You have to have a trusted system. One of the things they said about me when they were talking about me today in the veterans group is, if Ellen said she was going to do something, she did it. That is one of the greatest things you can say about a person. If they say they're going to do it, do they do it? You don't come here on Thursday and I said, yeah, I got tickets for Kid Leroy at the War Memorial. I said, who the heck is Kid Leroy? He's an Australian rapper. I left work yesterday at 4 o'clock. It was the hugest crowd, and they all had flip-flop shorts and tank tops on. Because it was 50. That's summer in Syracuse. But what I'm saying is, you know you can depend on me. I will be here. I'm going to stop right there, Bobby.